Jake Morrison pressed his face against the cold glass of the observation deck and watched the alien creatures laugh at his people. The sound made his stomach turn with anger and shame. 12 different alien species sat in the huge crystal chamber that floated in space around the planet Zenith Prime. Each one looked different from the others, but they all shared the same expression when they looked at humans. They thought humans were stupid. Amy Collins stood behind Jake at her station filled with blinking lights and screens. She listened to the alien voices through her headphones and translated their words for the human team. Her hands shook a little as she typed the messages. The aliens were not being kind. "They are calling us pets again, sir," Amy said quietly so. Only Jake could hear. Her voice sounded tired and hurt. "The big bug creature says we should go play in a sandbox somewhere far away from the important worlds." Jake closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He had been a commander in the human space fleet for 15 years. He had fought pirates and explored dangerous worlds. He had seen his friends die in battle and had saved colonies from disasters. But nothing had ever made him feel as small as standing in this place and listening to aliens treat his entire species like children. The Galactic Council was the most important group in known space. Every major alien civilization sent representatives here to make decisions about trade, war, and territory. Humans had been trying to join this council for 50 years, ever since they first met aliens and learned about faster than light travel. Every time they asked for anything, the answer was always the same. No. Ryan Brooks stood in the center of the council chamber wearing his best diplomatic uniform. He was Earth's most experienced ambassador and had spent decades learning alien languages and customs. Right now he was asking the council for permission to mine asteroids in a small group of star systems that nobody else wanted. The rocks were full of rare metals that Earth needed to build more spaceships and space stations. The answer was still no. A creature that looked like a giant mantis with 4 arms and glowing green eyes stood up from its floating chair. This was Bess. Clix-9, the representative from the Zephyrian Empire. The Zephyrians controlled hundreds of star systems and had the second largest fleet in the galaxy. When Clix-9 spoke, his voice made clicking and buzzing sounds that the translation computers changed into words humans could understand. "The humans wish to play with the big children," Clix-9 said while waving his arms in what Jake knew was the alien version of laughing. "Perhaps we should give them some toys to keep them busy. Maybe a dead star system where they cannot hurt themselves or bother the rest of us." The other aliens made various sounds that all meant the same thing. They thought this was very funny. A group of tall blue creatures with tentacles for arms slapped their appendages together. Several floating gas bags that represented a species from the core worlds pulsed with bright colors. Even the mechanical robots from the Artificial Intelligence Collective clicked their metal fingers in amusement. Jake felt his hands form into fists. He wanted to march into that chamber and show these creatures what humans could do when they got angry, but he knew that would only prove their point. Humans were too emotional, too violent, too primitive to be trusted with real power in the galaxy. Ryan Brooks kept his face calm and professional, even though Jake could see the man's jaw, muscles tightening with frustration. "Honorable delegates," Ryan said, "humanity has proven itself capable of peaceful exploration and trade. We have helped defend smaller colonies from pirates. We have shared our medical knowledge with species suffering from diseases. We ask only for the same opportunities that other civilizations enjoy." An alien that looked like a walking tree made of crystal spoke next. This was a representative from the Valdorian Collective, one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. "Young human," the creature said in a voice like wind chimes, "your species achieved faster than light travel only 50 years ago. Some of U.S. have been exploring space for 50,000 years. You have much to learn before you can sit at this table as equals. We have learned much in those 50 years, Ryan replied. Human colonies have grown from 12 worlds to 43. Our population in space has reached 2 billion people. Our technology improves every day. Another wave of alien laughter filled the chamber. A slug-like creature from the Mollusk Federation spoke through chemical sense that the translators turned into words. Technology you copied from us. The alien said, faster than light drives based on our designs. Gravity generators using our principles. Energy weapons built from our blueprints. You have created nothing new. This was the part that hurt the most because it was mostly true. Humans had learned about advanced technology by studying alien artifacts and getting help from friendly species. They had not invented their own path to the stars. They had followed roads that others had built millions of years before Earth even had life on it. Amy Collins continued to monitor the alien communications, and her face grew more worried with each message she received. Sir, she whispered to Jake, they are talking about putting new restrictions on human trade routes. Some of them want to limit how many colonies we can establish. The Zephyrians are suggesting we should not be allowed to have military spaceships. At all. Jake felt something cold form in his chest. If the Council voted to restrict human expansion, it would trap his species in a small corner of space forever. They would never be able to grow or explore or become something greater than what they were today. They would remain the galaxy's joke species until the end of time. The meeting continued for 3 more hours. Every request that Ryan made was denied or ignored. Every argument he presented was dismissed with condescending explanations about how humans were not ready for such responsibilities. By the end, even Ryan's diplomatic training could not hide his disappointment and anger. As the human delegation prepared to leave the council chamber, Clix-9 made one final comment that would stay with Jake for the rest of his life. Perhaps in another 1,000 years, the humans will grow up enough to have this conversation again, the alien said. Until then, they should focus on learning to be good pets. Jake Morrison walked back to his ship that day, knowing that something had to change. Humanity could not continue to accept this treatment forever. Somewhere in the galaxy, there had to be a way for his species to prove that they were more than just cosmic comic relief. He had no idea that back on Earth, a scientist named Lisa Park was about to discover exactly what humanity needed to change everything. Lisa Park stared at the computer screen in her underground laboratory and felt her heart racing with excitement. The numbers and patterns dancing across the display showed something that should have been impossible. Something that would change everything humans knew about space travel and the galaxy itself. 3 months had passed since the humiliating meeting at the Galactic Council. Lisa had spent those months working 18-hour days in her lab beneath the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. Her team of scientists worked alongside her, driven by the same burning desire to find a way for humanity to matter in the galaxy. Then, Carter looked up from his workstation, where he had been analyzing quantum energy readings. His hair was messy, and his eyes were red from lack of sleep, but his voice was filled with wonder. Lisa, these patterns are not random noise like we thought. They are artificial. Someone or something is creating them on purpose. Katie Stone walked over carrying a tablet filled with archaeological data from dead alien worlds. She had been studying ruins and artifacts that human exploration teams had found on planets where ancient civilizations had once lived. I have been comparing Ben's energy patterns to symbols we found carved into stone monuments on 12 different worlds. The matches are perfect. Lisa stood up and walked to the center of the lab, where a large, holographic display showed the mysterious energy signatures that appeared every time human ships jumped to faster than light speed. For years, scientists had noticed these strange quantum fluctuations, but had dismissed them as unimportant background noise. Lisa had begun to suspect there was something much more significant. "Show me the comparison data," Lisa said to Katie. The hologram changed to display photographs of ancient stone carvings next to the energy pattern readouts. The similarities were impossible to ignore. The same mathematical relationships appeared in both the quantum signatures and the alien monuments. Ben joined them at the display and pointed to specific sections of the data. "Every time a human ship engages its faster-than-light drive, we tap into some kind of communication network. But here is the strange part. When ships from other species make the same jump, these patterns do not appear. Only human ships create this effect." General Paul Hayes arrived at the laboratory 2 hours later after receiving Lisa's urgent message. He was a tall man with gray hair who had spent his career managing Earth's most secret military projects. When Lisa told him what they had discovered, he sat down heavily in a chair and stared at the holographic displays for a long time without speaking. "Are you telling me," General Hayes finally said, "that human technology accidentally connects to some kind of ancient alien communication system that nobody else knows about?" Lisa nodded and activated another section of the display. "Not just any aliens. We think this network belonged to a species that disappeared millions of years ago. Katie has been calling them the architects because of the massive structures they left behind on dead worlds." Katie stepped forward and began explaining what human archaeologists had learned about the mysterious architects over the past decade. They built cities that covered entire continents. Their technology was so advanced that it made current galactic civilizations look primitive. Then one day, they just vanished. No one knows what happened to them. But they left things behind, Ben added. Not just buildings and monuments. They left active technology. Machines that still work after millions of years. And for some reason, only humans can make those machines respond. General Hayes stood up and walked closer to the holographic display. "What kind of machines?" Lisa reached into a storage container and pulled out a crystalline device about the size of a football. It looked like it was made of some kind of translucent metal that seemed to shift and change color in the light. Human exploration teams had found dozens of similar objects in architect ruins, but no one had ever been able to make them work. "Watch this," Lisa said. She placed her hand on the surface of the crystal device. Immediately, it began to glow with a soft blue light. The laboratory filled with the sound of humming energy, and new holographic displays appeared in the air showing star maps and technical diagrams that were clearly far beyond current human understanding. "General," Hayes stepped back in surprise. "How is that possible?" "We think it has something to do with human brain patterns," Ben explained. "The quantum resonance in human neural activity is unique among known species. The architect technology is designed to respond to that specific resonance." Katie activated her tablet and showed the general more archaeological evidence. "We have found architect ruins on 47 different worlds. Most of them are in regions of space that current galactic civilizations avoid because they think those areas are empty or dangerous. But the ruins are not empty. They contain working technology that has been waiting for someone with the right neural patterns to activate it." Lisa removed her hand from the crystal device, and it slowly stopped glowing. "The communication network we discovered is just the beginning. If we can learn to use architect technology, we might be able to access knowledge and capabilities that are millions of years more advanced than anything the Galactic Council has ever seen." General Hayes was quiet for several minutes as he processed what the scientists had told him. Finally, he looked directly at Lisa and asked a question that would change the course of human history. How long would it take to build a ship using this technology? Ben and Katie looked at each other nervously, but Lisa answered without hesitation. "If we can access the manufacturing facilities that the architects left behind, we could have a prototype within 6 months. But General, you need to understand what this means. If we are right about the scope of architect technology, we are not talking about building a better spaceship. We are talking about accessing power that could reshape the entire galaxy. The General nodded slowly. And the other species have no idea this technology exists? None, Katie confirmed. Their technology evolved along different paths. They cannot see the quantum signatures that human ships create. They cannot activate architect devices. As far as they know, the architects vanished completely and left. Nothing useful behind. Lisa looked at the crystal device in her hands and felt the weight of possibility. For 50 years, humanity had been treated as the galaxy's pet species. They had been denied resources, territory, and respect. But now they had discovered something that could change everything. The question was whether they would be wise enough to use it properly. General Hayes picked up his secure communication device and began making calls to the highest levels of Earth's government. Within hours, every major leader on the planet would know about the architect discovery. The age of humanity, being a galactic joke, was about to end forever. President Helen Carter stood in the secure briefing room, deep beneath the White House, and listened to the most incredible story she had ever heard. The room was filled with the highest-ranking military officers and scientists on Earth. Everyone looked excited and nervous at the same time. What Lisa Park had discovered would either save humanity or destroy it completely. "Show me everything," President Carter said to Lisa. The lights dimmed and holographic displays filled the room with images of ancient alien ruins, star maps, and technical diagrams that seemed to pulse with their own inner light. Lisa explained how human ships had been accidentally connecting to an ancient communication network every time they jumped to faster than light speed. General Paul Hayes stepped forward and activated another display that showed the scope of what they had found. "Madam President, we have confirmed the existence of architect technology on 73 different worlds. Most of these planets are in regions of space that other species consider empty or too dangerous to explore. But they are not empty. They contain manufacturing facilities, research stations, and weapons that could change the balance of power in the entire galaxy." The president walked closer to the holographic displays and studied the technical specifications that human scientists had managed to decode from architect devices. The numbers were almost impossible to believe. Ships that could cross the galaxy in hours instead of months. Energy shields that could stop planet-killing weapons. Sensors that could detect invisible ships from dozens of star systems away. How? Long before we can build these things? President Carter asked. Ben Carter, Lisa's quantum physics partner, answered while pulling up construction timelines on his tablet. "We have already begun retrofitting the exploration ship Horizon with architect technology. The first test flight is scheduled for next week. If successful, we could have a full squadron of advanced ships within 3 months." Lisa activated another section of the display that showed what they had learned about architect manufacturing capabilities. The real breakthrough came when we discovered that entire architect worlds are still functional. Their automated factories have been waiting for millions of years for someone with the right neural patterns to activate them. We could build a fleet that dwarfs anything the Galactic Council has ever seen. President Carter sat down and tried to process the magnitude of what she was hearing. For 50 years, humanity had struggled to earn respect in galactic politics. They had been denied territory, resources, and membership in important organizations. Now they had discovered technology that could make them the most powerful species in known space. Jake Morrison entered the briefing room wearing a new uniform that sparkled with energy, patterns woven into the fabric. He had been selected to command the first ship equipped with architect technology. His crew had spent the past month learning to operate systems that were more advanced than anything humans had ever imagined. "The Horizon is ready for testing, Madam President," Jake reported. "My crew has been training on architect control interfaces. The ship responds to human neural patterns in ways that seem almost magical. When pilot Nancy Wells thinks about changing course, the ship begins turning before she even touches the controls. Nancy Wells stepped forward from behind Jake and added her own observations about the incredible technology they were learning to use. The ship feels alive in some ways. It anticipates what we need and provides it automatically. The navigation system knows about star systems that are not on any galactic maps. The weapons can target multiple enemies simultaneously without any input from us. Chris Murphy, the ship's chief engineer, pulled up technical diagrams showing how architect systems integrated with human technology. The most amazing thing is how the technology adapts to work with our existing equipment. It is like the architects designed everything to be compatible with species they had never met, almost like they knew we were coming. Katie Stone had spent the past month exploring newly discovered architect worlds, and her findings were revolutionary. We have found evidence that suggests the architects did not disappear or die out. They evolved beyond physical existence. Their final records indicate they were waiting for a species with the right neural patterns to inherit their technology. They were waiting for humanity. The president stood up and walked to the window that showed the busy activity happening in the underground facility. Hundreds of scientists and engineers worked around the clock to unlock architect secrets. New discoveries were being made every day that expanded human understanding of what was possible. What about the other species? President Carter asked. When they discover what we have found, how will they react? General Hayes activated a display showing current galactic political situations. Intelligence reports suggest that several major powers are becoming concerned about unusual activity in human space. They have detected energy signatures from our architect experiments, but they cannot identify the source. Some are beginning to investigate. Lisa walked over to a secured container and removed another architect device, this one shaped like a sphere covered in glowing symbols. We have discovered that the architect communication network extends throughout the entire galaxy. We can monitor all faster than light travel, listen to encrypted communications, and track ship movements without anyone knowing we are watching them. Ben activated his tablet and showed intelligence data they had gathered using architect surveillance. Technology. The Zephyrian Empire is planning to petition the Galactic Council to place additional restrictions on human expansion. The Valdorian Collective is discussing whether humans should be allowed to maintain military ships at all. They still think of us as primitive children who need to be controlled. Jake looked at the surveillance data and felt anger building in his chest. The same aliens who had laughed at humanity just months ago were now plotting to limit human freedom even further. They had no idea that their supposed pet species had discovered technology that made their most advanced weapons look like toys. President Carter made the decision that would reshape galactic civilization. We proceed with Project Renaissance immediately. I want a full fleet of architect-enhanced ships built within 6 months. We will establish colonies on every architect world we can find. When we are ready, we will show the galaxy that humanity is no longer asking for permission. The room filled with activity as orders were given and plans were made. Earth's greatest secret project began in earnest as humanity prepared to step out of the shadows and claim their place as a galactic power. The age of being laughed at was ending. The age of human dominance was about to begin. The emergency alarm echoed through the crystal chambers of the Galactic Council as Ambassador Clix-9 rushed to his communication station. Reports were flooding in from across the galaxy about mysterious ships that appeared without warning, scanned entire star systems, then vanished before anyone could respond. The unknown vessels possessed technology that seemed impossible even by the standards of the most advanced civilizations. Clix-9 clicked his mandibles nervously as he read the latest intelligence reports from Zephyrian military commanders. 3 of their patrol fleets had encountered the mysterious ships in the past week. Each time, the unknown vessels had appeared from empty space, ignored all communication attempts, completed their scans, and disappeared before the Zephyrian ships could even lock weapons on them. The crystalline being known as Shard of Truth floated into the emergency session, representing the Valdorian collective. Its body pulsed with worried colors as it projected holographic displays showing similar encounters throughout Valdorian space. The ancient species had ruled portions of the galaxy for 50,000 years, but they had never seen technology like this. The disturbances began exactly 4 months ago. Shard of Truth reported to the assembled delegates. Our best scientists have analyzed the energy signatures left behind by these vessels. The technology appears to be completely unknown. It may be connected to legends about the mythical architects. A slug-like representative from the Mollusk Federation released chemical scents that translated into words of concern. Our trade routes are being disrupted. Merchant ships report being scanned by invisible vessels that appear and disappear without explanation. Several of our science stations have gone completely silent after reporting contact with unknown ships. Clix-9 stood up and activated his own intelligence displays. The Zephyrian Empire had the second largest military in the galaxy, and their surveillance networks covered hundreds of star systems. What they had discovered was deeply troubling. Our analysis suggests these ships are not exploring randomly. They are conducting systematic surveys of strategic locations, weapons manufacturing, worlds, military bases, and government centers are being targeted for detailed scans. The mechanical representative from the Artificial Intelligence Collective spoke in electronic tones that carried undertones of worry. Our computational models cannot explain the technology we have observed. These ships move faster than our fastest. Vessels possess shields that deflect our most powerful weapons and carry sensors that can penetrate our best cloaking systems. We calculate a 97% probability that this represents a new galactic power. The council chamber filled with worried chatter in dozens of alien languages as representatives tried to understand what was happening. For thousands of years, the major galactic powers had maintained a careful balance. Each species knew the capabilities of the others. Wars were fought with predictable outcomes based on known technology and fleet sizes. The appearance of ships with impossible capabilities threatened to upset everything. That was when the massive doors to the council chamber opened with a sound like thunder. Every alien representative turned to see who was entering without permission. During an emergency session, what they saw made many of them step backward in surprise and confusion. Ryan Brooks walked into the chamber, but he looked completely different from the desperate diplomat who had begged for mining rights just months ago. He wore a uniform that seemed to be made of living light, with energy patterns flowing across the fabric like liquid starfire. Behind him marched a squad of human soldiers wearing armor that hummed with power and projected protective energy fields around their bodies. Floating beside the human delegation was a small crystalline drone that projected Ryan's words in perfect translation to every species present. The device was clearly of architect origin, its design matching artifacts that had been found in ancient ruins throughout the galaxy. But those artifacts had always been dead and powerless. This one blazed with active energy. Honored delegates, Ryan said in a voice that carried authority and confidence instead of the pleading tone he had used before. I believe you have been wondering about the identity of the new players in your galaxy. The chamber erupted in chaos as dozens of alien species recognized the human delegation. Clix-9 screeched in outrage at the interruption, while Shard of Truth pulsed with colors that indicated extreme agitation. The slug-like mollusk representative released chemical scents that roughly translated to profanity in several languages, but their protests died away as more figures entered the chamber. Admiral Susan Price walked through the doors accompanied by holographic projectors that filled the space with displays showing the true scope of human expansion. The images revealed thousands of worlds that had been invisible to galactic surveys, fleets of ships built with impossible technology, and industrial facilities that dwarfed the combined manufacturing capacity of every known civilization. For 50 years, Susan continued where Ryan had left off, you have treated humanity as a curiosity. You denied us resources, territories, and respect. You called us pets and jokes and told us to go play in a sandbox. Today, we are here to renegotiate the terms of our relationship with the galactic community. The holographic displays showed human colonies on worlds that supposedly contained nothing but dead ruins. Space stations built around architect megastructures that had been thought abandoned for millions of years. Mining operations extracting resources from asteroid fields that other species had dismissed as worthless. Everywhere the galaxy had written off as empty or dangerous, humans had established thriving settlements. Clix-9 found his voice first among the stunned alien delegates. This is impossible. Our surveys show those regions of space contain nothing but dead worlds and ancient debris. How could you have built an empire without anyone detecting it? Ryan smiled and gestured to the architect throne floating beside him. Your surveys could not detect what you are not equipped to see. The architects built more than monuments and ruins. They built entire worlds, hidden behind cloaking technology that only responds to specific neural patterns. They were waiting for a species capable of inheriting their legacy. The displays changed to show human ships engaging alien vessels in simulated combat scenarios. The results were devastating. Human vessels could destroy entire fleets without taking damage, could travel across the galaxy in hours instead of months, and could remain invisible until they chose to reveal themselves. Admiral Susan Price stepped forward and delivered the words that would reshape galactic politics forever. The age of humanity asking for permission is over. We are here to inform you of the new reality. Earth and its colonies now control the most advanced technology in the galaxy. We suggest you consider how you wish to interact with us going forward. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the command bridge of the flagship Ascendant and watched the stars through the massive viewing window that stretched across the front of the ship. 6 months had passed since humanity revealed itself to the galaxy as the new dominant power. The universe looked very different now than it had when he was just a commander watching aliens laugh at his people. The Ascendant was built around an architect megastructure that was larger than most space stations. Its hull gleamed with energy, patterns that shifted and flowed like living metal. Around it flew hundreds of other human ships, each one equipped with technology that made the greatest vessels of other species look like primitive toys. Nancy Wells approached Jake from her position at the navigation station. She had been promoted to admiral after proving herself as one of the best pilots of architect-enhanced ships in the human fleet. Her uniform displayed rank insignia that glowed with soft blue light, indicating her status as a senior commander in the Terran Commonwealth Navy. Sir, we are receiving a priority message from the Arcturian Federation, Nancy reported. Their ambassador is requesting another meeting to discuss their application for membership in the Commonwealth. They are offering to share their advanced medical technology in exchange for protection from Zephyrian raids. Jake nodded and authorized the meeting. The Arcturian Federation was one of several smaller civilizations that had chosen to ally with humanity rather than remain under the control of the traditional galactic powers. When humans revealed their true capabilities, many species had quickly realized that the old order was ending and they needed to choose sides carefully. The holographic communication system activated and displayed the image of Ambassador Valkyrie, a graceful being with silver skin and large dark eyes. The Arcturians had been vassals of the Zephyrian Empire for 300 years, but they had declared independence the day after humanity demonstrated its technological superiority. Admiral Morrison Well, Carrie said with obvious relief in her voice. We have received word that the Zephyrians are assembling a punishment fleet to force us back under their control. We formally request protection under the Terran Commonwealth Defense Treaty. Jake smiled and activated the fleet communication system. Admiral Wells, please dispatch the 3rd Squadron to Arcturian space. Any Zephyrian ships that enter there, territory without permission, are to be disabled and escorted to the nearest human base for processing. The speed at which human ships could respond to threats had revolutionized galactic politics. Where it once took weeks for military forces to cross between star systems, human vessels could arrive anywhere in the galaxy within hours. This meant that threatening a Commonwealth ally was now essentially impossible without facing immediate consequences. Chris Murphy, now serving as the Ascendant's chief technology officer, approached with a tablet displaying the latest reports from human research stations. Admiral Dr. Lisa Park has sent an update from the Architect Research Center. They have made another breakthrough in understanding the medical technology left behind by the architects. We can now extend human lifespans to over 1,000 years while maintaining perfect health. Jake reviewed the medical data and felt amazed once again by the scope of what humanity had inherited. The architects had not just left behind weapons and ships. They had left behind solutions to every problem that plagued organic life. Disease, aging, resource scarcity, environmental damage. All of these could now be solved using architect knowledge. Priority alert chimed through the ship's communication system. Katie Stone appeared on the holographic display from her position as Director of Commonwealth Intelligence. Her job was to monitor the activities of species that had not yet chosen to join the human alliance. Admiral, we have detected a massive military buildup in Zephyrian space, Katie reported. Intelligence suggests they are planning a coordinated attack on human colonies in the Outer Rim. Fleet strength appears to be over 2,000 ships, including their newest Dreadnought-class vessels. Jake looked at the tactical display that showed Zephyrian ship movements and felt no concern whatsoever. 2,000 ships had once been a force that could conquer entire sectors of the galaxy. Now it was barely enough to threaten a single human patrol squadron. How long until they reach attack positions? Jake asked. Approximately 18 hours at their current speed, Katie replied. Shall I alert Commonwealth Defense Command to prepare a response? Jake shook his head and smiled. No need. We will handle this personally. Nancy, set course for the Zephyrian fleet. Chris, prepare a demonstration of our new gravitational manipulation technology. I think it is time to end the Zephyrian Empire's delusions about their military capabilities. The Ascendant and its escort fleet jumped to faster than light speed and crossed half the galaxy in 30 minutes. They emerged from their quantum tunnels directly in front of the advancing Zephyrian armada. The alien ships immediately began broadcasting surrender demands and threats, apparently believing they still held some kind of advantage. Admiral Jake Morrison opened a communication channel to the lead Zephyrian vessel. The image of Admiral Crix-7, brother of the Council Representative Clix-9, appeared on screen. The insectoid being's mandibles clicked with rage as he recognized the human who had once been dismissed as irrelevant. Human, Crix-7 buzzed through the translator. You will order your ships to withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The Zephyrian Empire does not negotiate with inferior species. Jake gestured to Chris Murphy, who activated the Ascendant's gravitational manipulation systems. Invisible waves of twisted spacetime reached out and gently lifted the entire Zephyrian fleet off their current course. 2,000 warships found themselves being moved through space like toys in the hands of a child. Admiral Crix-7, Jake said calmly, the Zephyrian Empire is hereby disbanded. Your ships will be escorted to processing centers where your crews will be given the choice to join the Commonwealth as equals or return to their home worlds as private citizens. The age of empires built on conquest and oppression is over. The Zephyrian admiral tried to order his ships to open fire, but discovered that their weapon systems had been remotely disabled by Architect, technology that could penetrate any known shielding or armor. The most powerful military force in the galaxy had been neutralized without a single shot being fired. Ryan Brooks, now serving as Earth's Prime Minister, established the governing principles that would guide humanity's approach to galactic leadership. The Commonwealth welcomed all species as equals regardless of their technological level or past conflicts. Former slave races found themselves elevated to full citizenship. Pirates and raiders discovered that Commonwealth-protected space was safer than their prior own home systems. As the Ascendant returned to Earth, carrying representatives from a dozen newly liberated worlds, Jake Morrison reflected on how completely everything had changed. The galaxy had found new masters, but for the first time in recorded history, they were masters who used their power to lift others up instead of pushing them down. The day Earth stopped being a joke had become the day the galaxy learned what true leadership looked like.